Jai Gurudev. Hopefully all of you are up to speed with Yoga Vashishta. We completed page 190 last week. Let's move on with page 191.
Vashishta continued. Uddalaka's mind had attained absolute tranquility and no distraction could afflict him. Directly he beheld in his heart the darkness of ignorance and gleaming the light of self-knowledge. With the light of knowledge that arose in him, he dispelled even that darkness. He then beheld the light within. However, when that light dimmed, he experienced sleep, but he dispelled the dullness of sleep too. Once the drowsiness of sleep had been dispelled, his mind took up diverse brilliant forms. He cleared his consciousness of these visions. Then he was overcome by a great elation, like one intoxicated. He got over that inertia too. After this, his mind rested in another state which was different from all these so far described. After resting for a while in this state, however, his mind awoke the experience of the totality of existence. Immediately after this, he experienced pure awareness. This awareness, which till then had been associated with other factors, had now regained its purity and independence. Even as when the muddy water in an earthen pot is completely evaporated, the mud becomes an integral part of the pot, made of the same substance. Even as the wave emerges in the ocean and becomes one and non-different from it, the consciousness abandoned its objectivity and regained its absolute purity. Uddalaka was enlightened. He enjoyed the supreme bliss that gods like Brahma enjoyed. His state was beyond description. He was one with the ocean of bliss. Soon, Uddalaka beheld great sages in that infinite consciousness. He ignored them. He continued the experience of supreme bliss. He attained the state of liberated while living. He beheld the gods and the sages, and he even beheld the members of the Trinity. He went beyond even that state. He was completely transmuted into bliss itself, and hence he had gone beyond the realm of bliss. He experienced neither bliss nor non-bliss. He became pure consciousness. He who experiences this even for a moment is disinterested even in the delights of heaven. This is the supreme state. This is the goal. This is the eternal abode. He who rests in this is not again deluded and is no longer caught in the subject-object relationship. He is fully awakened and never again entertains the notion of objectivity or conceptualization. Of course, this is not an attainment. Uddalaka remained for 6 months in this state, vigilantly avoiding the temptation of psychic powers. Even sages and gods adored him. He was invited to ascend to heaven. He declined the invitation. Totally free from all desires, Uddalaka roamed as a sage, liberated while living. Often he would spend days and months in meditation in the caves of mountains. Though at other times he engaged himself in the ordinary activities of living, he had reached the state of perfect equilibrium. He looked upon all with equal vision. His inner light shone at all times, never rising and never setting. With all notions of duality totally at rest, he lived devoid of body consciousness, established in pure being.
This is so beautifully described. He had not only gone beyond rajas and tamas and attained Sattva, he had gone even beyond Sattva. What happens when you reach the state of complete Sattva, of complete establishment in the state of Sattva? Everything seems all goody-goody. Everything is all nice, hunky-dory. A person can get lost, and there is a chance, even at the highest state of Sattva, that you may start ignoring what the Viveka tells you. Because Viveka discriminates between good, bad, right, wrong. Yes? When a person is completely established in Sattva, devoid of Rajas and Tamas, even on the Sattva side, there is a possibility of you to topple over. You may get lost in Sattva even more. That is why Rajas, Tamas, Sattva, all three are required for this entire creation to run. Whether it is a person, an animal, an insect, a situation, a thing, or just this entire planetary system. Everything is running on three principles: Rajas, Tamas and Sattva. In more scientific language, you can call it as everything is running on the power of a single atom. And what is a single atom? Electron, proton and neutron. Do you remember your physics class? Yes? Everything in this creation is made of atoms. And every single atom, whether it is the atom of a liquid, atom of a gas, or atom of a matter like the wall, it does not matter. Every single atom has an electron, proton and a neutron. These electrons, protons and neutrons are nothing but those three principles of Rajas, Tamas and Sattva. Let's look at this a little more closely. So what Udalaka had attained, that state is called Traigunatit. Traigun means the three gunas. Atit means beyond. He was not just beyond Rajas and Tamas, but he was also beyond the guna of Sattva. Yes, he was not just established in Sattva, but he went beyond Sattva. Now let's understand what actually this means. Everything in this creation is made up of atoms. Remember your physics class? An atom is nothing but a combination of the neutron, the proton and the revolving electron. In the beginning of creation, the Brahman consciousness divided into Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti is matter and Purusha is the energy that is running this matter. The first element of Prakriti was the space element or the ether element, in which everything is created. Everything is just a permutation and combination of earth, water, fire, air and space. It doesn't matter what the element is, whether earth, water, fire or air. It is made up of atoms, and every atom, whether solid, liquid or gaseous, has a proton, an electron and a neutron. Proton is the positive charge, electron is the negative charge and neutron is the neutral charge. So every atom has both positive and negative. Both are essential to bring about neutrality. The same has been given in our ancient scriptures, in the Vedas and Upanishads. What science calls proton today can be equated with what the Vedas and Puranas and the Upanishads and all other scriptures call Rajas. What science calls electron today can be equated with Tamas, and what science calls neutron today can be equated with Sattva. Rajas is the positive force and Tamas is like the negative force. They balance each other. One is not greater or better than the other. This is a very important understanding. Just like you need the daytime when the sun is out and you need the night time when the sun has set. Both are essential. Just like activity and rest, both are essential to bring a perfect balance in life. You cannot be constantly engaged in activity and you cannot be constantly at rest. Rajas, Tamas and Sattva are the three gunas of each and every atom in this universe. This was depicted in the ancient scriptures also as the creative force or Brahma. Rajas is equivalent to Brahma or the creative force, and it was depicted as Maheshwara or the destructive force by the word Tamas, and the sustaining force or Vishnu is the depiction given by the word Sattva. Everything in this universe, whatever matter it is, whether solid, liquid or gaseous, changes forms. Whatever is created also gets destroyed. It sustains only for a limited amount of time. This is the highest truth. The highest truth is everything is changing, and this highest truth is in force because of the proton, electron and neutron or Rajas, Tamas and Sattva principles. Rajas, Tamas and Sattva make everything change. There is creation, there is sustenance and there is destruction. When we look at our own minds, how does Rajas affect us? It creates desire or want in the mind. You get into the feverishness to achieve when you do not know how to balance this. Tamas creates a sense of not want or dislike. And when that is not balanced, it can lead to feverishness to reject. The perfect balance of Rajas and Tamas is called Sattva. In Sattva, there is dispassion. Dispassion is not detachment. Dispassion is not running away from the world. Dispassion is where the feverishness to achieve or to reject does not exist at all. It has just dropped away. For example, you grew out of your favorite Barbie doll or your favorite little red car that you played with when you were a little kid. A natural dispassion came over you. A natural dispassion starts coming over you when you learn the art of balancing Rajas and Tamas. Because slowly this understanding sets in that a feverishness to achieve or reject is only doership, and doership leads to misery. The only way to peace is to be established in non-doership, is to maintain your balance between rajas and tamas and sustain in sattva. This was also called as the witnessing consciousness or Sakshi Bhav by Ashtavakra. Narada called it Nyasa, being centered. Patanjali calls it Yogaha, union of the big mind and the small mind. And the Upanishads call it Namaha, which is reversal of mind. Manaha is mind, Namaha is no mind or reversal of mind. So what are the steps that are defined for us to balance these three gunas? First step, you balance rajas and tamas. Second step, you sustain in sattva or you be established in sattva. Yeah? This is a constant exercise. Constantly balancing the rajas and tamas will be your first step. Slowly, because of the balance between rajas and tamas, you will see that you are naturally established in sattva. That will be the second step. But do we stop there? The Yoga Vasishtha says no. You have to move on to the third and final step. And what is that? Being established in Turiya. Turiya means the fourth. Rajas, Tamas and Sattva are the three gunas. Just being established in Sattva can give rise to ego, can give rise to a little bit of negativity. That is why going beyond Rajas, Tamas and Sattva, all three, going beyond all three is the key. And that is why it is called the fourth, Turiya. Turiya Avastha. Udalaka has been established in this Turiya Avastha now. Now let's read the page again and see how Vasishtha has described this beautiful Turiya Avastha. Page 191. Udalaka's mind had attained absolute tranquility and no distraction could afflict it. He is talking about the Traigunatit state. Directly he beheld in his heart the darkness of ignorance that had veiled the light of self-knowledge, the tamas that had veiled the sattva. With the light of knowledge that arose in him, he dispelled even that darkness. With sattva, he dispelled all the tamas. Yeah? Being lost in Mohamaya, yeah? Or Yogamaya or Mahamaya is all the same. You are lost in tamas or this Prakriti. With the help of sattva, he overcame that tamas. However, when that light dimmed, he experienced sleep. But he dispelled the dullness of sleep too. Once the drowsiness of sleep had been dispelled, his mind threw up diverse, brilliant forms. He cleared his consciousness of these visions. Then he was overcome by a great inertia like one intoxicated. Even when you reach that state of sattva, even in that state of sattva, there can be inertia. There can be an intoxicated like state. He got over that inertia too. After this, his mind rested in another state which was different from all these so far described. This is the state they are talking about the Traiguna Atit state. Now let's look at that. After resting for a while in this state, however, his mind awoke to the experience of the totality of existence. Yeah? Just like a bubble of water, a bubble in the ocean suddenly bursts and realizes, oh, I am a part of that entire ocean. Yeah? It was that experience of totality of existence that Uddalaka experienced here. Immediately after this, he experienced pure awareness. This awareness, which till then had been associated with other factors, had now regained its purity and independence. Even as when the muddy water in an earthen pot has completely evaporated, the mud becomes an integral part of the pot, made of the same substance. Beautiful analogy here. Yeah? But understand, our awareness is related to, oh, I have to be in the waking state, then I am completely aware. If my stomach is full, if my mind is focused and I'm not thinking about family and friends and boss and work and blah blah, then I am completely focused. So our awareness is conditional. Do you see what he's saying here? This awareness is a different level, higher up above the awareness that we experience in the waking state. If you remember, towards the end in Ashtavakra, we discussed about the fourth state. Yeah? That state where there is a constant joy and a constant awareness. You remember? Yeah? In that state of awareness, yeah, it does not matter whether you are in the waking state, the dreaming state, or the sleep state. You can observe all these three states. You can observe yourself even while asleep. That is the higher level of awareness that Uddalaka has achieved now. Even as the wave merges in the ocean and becomes one and non-different from it, the consciousness abandoned its objectivity and regained its absolute purity. It was completely pure, devoid of impressions, devoid of ragas and dveshas, devoid of Maya. Maya is the weapon of tamas. Tamas keeps attacking you with this weapon. He had gone beyond tamas, rajas and sattva to a state where all these gunas did not affect him. Uddalaka was enlightened. He enjoyed the supreme bliss that gods like Brahma enjoy. His state was beyond description. He was one with the ocean of bliss. Soon Uddalaka beheld great stages in that infinite consciousness. He ignored them. What does this mean? When you reach that state, the Traiguna-atit state, or the Turiya Avastha, or the fourth state, as it is called, there will be many temptations which will pull you back. Yeah? Temptations of heaven, temptations of siddhis, of performing miracles. Yeah? You've heard about some attained yogis who can walk on water and who can hit themselves with the hunter and nothing happens and stuff like that, who can just produce gold out of nothing. Yeah? out of ashes. All these miracles you've heard about. Yes? All these siddhis come to you as something that can attract you. Yeah? It is Yogamaya. So he ignored even that. He continued with the experience of supreme bliss. He attained the state of liberated while living. That state is called Jivan Mukta. He beheld the gods and the sages, and he even beheld the members of the Trinity. He went beyond even that state. He was completely transmuted into bliss itself, and hence he had gone beyond the realm of bliss. He experienced neither bliss nor non-bliss. Remember I told you in the slide, going beyond doership and going beyond non-doership even. Yeah? Going beyond bliss and going beyond non-bliss even. Just into a state of pure being. Just being into that nothingness. Sometimes it happens to you in meditation. When you are deep down somewhere in your meditation, there is nothingness, complete nothingness. No emotion, no sadness, no happiness, no hatred, no love, no joy, nothing. Just blank, pure, untouched. The virgin area of your being. That emptiness. English language really does not have enough words. Yes, that nothingness, that state is beyond bliss and beyond non-bliss even. He became pure consciousness. He who experiences this even for a moment is disinterested even in the delights of heaven. Even the delights of heaven would not tempt somebody who has experienced the Turiya Avastha or the fourth state. This is the supreme state. This is the goal. This is the eternal abode. He who rests in this is not again deluded and is no longer caught in the subject-object relationship. He is fully awakened and never again entertains the notion of objectivity or conceptualization. Again, we are lost in objects of sight, objects of sound, objects of taste. Once you experience that fourth state, you do not get lost in these objects. The mind does not lust for these objects anymore. You go beyond even conceptualization, which means even the thought of an object sitting there and kneeling at you does not happen. Concepts break away. You become just pure. You become what you really are. So become is not the right way to put it, but it's because we don't see ourselves in the true manner that we are, or the true reflection of who we are, we cannot see. And that's why we use the word we become like that. But actually you are. And that pure reflection is just covered by dust or clouds of grey, of Rajas, Tamas and Sattva. Sattva is included here. Once these clouds of Rajas, Tamas and Sattva go away, you recognize, oh, this is the true you, the pure you. Of course, this is not an attainment. That is a very important sentence there. It is not an attainment, it is who you are. Of course, this is not an attainment. Uddalaka remained for 6 months in this state, vigilantly avoiding the temptation of psychic powers. Even sages and gods adored him. He was invited to ascend to heaven. He declined the invitation. Totally freed from all desires, Uddalaka roamed as a sage, liberated while living. Often he would spend days and months in meditation in the caves of mountains, though at other times he engaged himself in the ordinary activities of living. He had reached the state of perfect equilibrium. He looked upon all with equal vision. His inner light shone at all times, never rising and never setting. With all notions of duality totally at rest, he lived devoid of body. So it is going through its Rajasic cycle there. The mind needs some application. That is the Rajasic cycle of the mind. The body then goes through its Tamasic cycle where it needs rest. In the night it wants to rest. The same with the mind. It tends to go into its dream state. Everything on the Rajas, Tamas and the Sattva side was happening. The perfect balance was also being maintained. So, he recognized all of this. Yes, but he was not lost in it. The way we get lost in the 3 gunas, that is what Uddalaka had gone beyond. Yes, that is the meaning of he lived devoid of body consciousness, established in pure being, established in the Turiya Avastha, the 4th state. Beautiful page, isn't it? Let's go ahead and read page 192.
In answer to Rama's question concerning pure beings, Vasishtha said, when the mind has ceased to be because of total absence of the notions of material existence, consciousness exists in its own nature as consciousness. That is known as pure being. When consciousness, devoid of notions of objectivity, merges in itself, losing its separate identity, as it were, it is pure being. When all external, material and internal notional objects merge in consciousness, there is pure being of consciousness. This is the supreme vision which happens to all liberated ones, whether they seem to have a body or they are without one. This vision is available to one who has been awakened, to one who is in a state of deep contemplation, and to a man of self-knowledge. It is not experienced by the ignorant person. Sages and members of the Trinity are established in this consciousness. O Rama, having reached this state of consciousness, Uddalaka lived for some time. In course of time, in his mind, there arose a wish. Let me drop this embodiment. He went to a mountain cave and seated himself in the lotus posture, with his eyes half closed. He closed off the 9 apertures of the body by pressing his heel against the rectum, etc. He withdrew the senses into his heart. He restrained his life force, Rama. He held his body in a state of perfect equilibrium. He pressed the tip of his tongue against the root of his palate. His jaws were slightly parted from each other. His inner vision was directed neither inward nor outward, neither above nor below, neither in substantiality nor void. He was established in pure consciousness, and he experienced pure bliss within himself. He had reached the consciousness of pure being, beyond the state of bliss. His whole being had become absolutely pure. Uddalaka remained in this total pure state for some time, like a painted picture. Gradually, day by day, he attained perfect quiescence. He remained in his own pure being. He had risen above the cycle of birth and death. All his doubts were set at rest. Perverse thoughts had ceased. All impurities of the heart had been washed away. He had attained that state of bliss which is beyond the description, in which one regards even the joy of the King of Heaven as worthless. His body remained thus for a period of 6 months. After that, one day several goddesses led by Parvati arrived at that spot in response to the prayers of a devotee. Parvati, who was worshipped by the gods themselves, saw the body of Uddalaka, which had been dried up by the scorching rays of the sun, and quickly placed it on the crown of her head. Such is the glorious story of the sage Uddalaka, O Rama, which awakened the highest wisdom in the heart of one who takes shelter in its shade.
So there ends the story of Uddalaka. There's not much to describe on this page, on page 192, except the initial part where Vasishtha is answering Rama's question. When the mind has ceased to be because of the total absence of the notions of material existence, consciousness exists in its own nature as consciousness. What does this mean? The consciousness, which is nothing but the Purusha, goes out into the world and gets lost in the 5 senses and the objects of the 5 senses. This consciousness is called mind. When it is lost in the world, it is called mind. When it comes back within and is established within itself, it is pure consciousness. That is the meaning of the first line. It exists in its own nature as consciousness. That is known as pure being. When consciousness, devoid of notions of objectivity, merges in itself, losing its separate identity, as it were, it is pure being. It identifies with another person or another body. Like this body is called Ekta. If the consciousness identifies with this body, the consciousness thinks, oh, I am Ekta. But Ekta is the name of this piece of Prakriti. It has got nothing to do with me. I will pick on another piece of Prakriti in the next Janma. And in my previous Janmas, I might have had so many different pieces of Prakriti. Consciousness has got nothing to do with the piece of Prakriti. The moment the consciousness realizes this and retracts from the objects, it is pure being. When all external and internal objects merge in consciousness, there is pure being of consciousness. This is the supreme vision which happens to all liberated ones, whether they seem to have a body or they are without one. This vision is available to one who has been awakened, to one who is in a state of deep contemplation, and a man of self-knowledge. It is not experienced by the ignorant person. Yeah? Awakened by his own self-effort, by your own purushartha. If you do self-inquiry, if you go deep into the scriptural knowledge, if you meditate, and if you do self-inquiry, when you go deeper within by your own self-contemplation, you become wise. Then you attain this state. It cannot be attained by one who is ignorant, who does not walk this path of self-contemplation. It is not experienced by the ignorant person. Sages and members of the Trinity are established in this consciousness. O Rama, having reached this state of consciousness, Uddalaka lived for some time. And then he went into the cave and he let go of the body. He had risen to that awareness, that consciousness which is above the body consciousness. Yeah? So, letting go of the body is just like letting go of something that, was yours, but you don't want it anymore. The way you shed toys, when you matured from being that young boy and young girl, and the way you let go of so many other pleasures of the world as you matured in life, just like that. The highest maturity was attained by Uddalaka, where he could let go of his body. There's not much to explain beyond that on this page. I will leave you with that, and I will see you next week. Jai Gurudev.